and then later on, I got into the Adventists and the different Adventists. There's two camps. There's the camp that believe in the three persons of the Godhead, and then there's the people who teach the two-person Godhead that deny the Holy Spirit, and that's dangerous too. And I said, how could you leave out an important part of the Godhead as the Holy Spirit? And we had to deal with that many times in the Adventist realm because that's blasphemy. I mean, to deny the Holy Spirit is
there's a verse in Matthew that really has impressed me. Let me see if I can find it here. In Matthew chapter 12, on that point, Bill, where Jesus is talking about the blasphemy of the Holy Spirit. Mm-hmm. And here, Matthew chapter 12, verse 31, Jesus says, "Wherefore I say to you, all manner of sin and blasphemy shall be forgiven to men, but the blasphemy against the Holy Spirit shall not be forgiven to men." And then he says, "Whoever speaks a word against the Son of Man," this is verse 32, "it shall be forgiven him. But whoever speaks against the Holy Spirit, it shall not be forgiven him, neither in this world, neither in the world to come." So in our church, there are some people like you said, instead of three, there's two. And the Holy Spirit is apparently he is Jesus divested of humanity.
That's also the Worldwide Church of God, interesting enough. Herbert W. Armstrong
he's not. Yeah, good. And he's not the third person. But my thought is, as I read this verse, Jesus is very clear that he is not the Holy Spirit.
Right.
Because he says, you can speak a word against me. You can say things about me, and you can still be forgiven. But he said, if you blaspheme the Holy Spirit, you cannot be forgiven, not in this world or in the world to come. So he's very clearly differentiating between himself and the Holy Spirit. And it's so bizarre that within our church, we have a very strong teaching in what we call the early rain and the latter rain, that the Holy Spirit was poured out on the day of Pentecost to initiate the gospel. That was or really get the gospel moving in the Roman world. That was the early rain. And then there's the latter rain, is the final outpouring of the Holy Spirit at the end of time to help give the gospel one last boost of power into the world before Jesus returns. And so in our church, we have a strong focus on the importance of getting ready for the latter rain, getting ready for the Holy Spirit, praying for the Holy Spirit, receiving that power. And the devil knows that. And so as we get closer to the latter rain, he's attacking us by getting people to think that there really is no third person of the Godhead. There really is no Holy Spirit, that the Holy Spirit really is Jesus. And there's a number of verses that they use to support this teaching, because, of course, any false doctrine has a certain kernel of truth in it.
Right.
And so they use certain verses. But when you look at the whole picture, and when you look at Matthew chapter 12, Jesus said, you can speak a word against me and it'll be forgiven you. But if you speak against the Holy Spirit and blaspheme the Spirit and cut off that channel for your life, you're in danger of eternal damnation. Absolutely. And there's many verses where Jesus talks about I will send another comforter, that he may abide with you forever. Let me just read this one more.
But they also twist that. They also twist that and say, well, Christ had to go away so the Holy Spirit could come. And they equate that as his coming back as the Holy Spirit, which makes no sense.
And the challenge is that when the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit are one, they are so united that when the Holy Spirit comes to us, Jesus does come to us. And Jesus said, when you've seen me, you've seen the Father. I and my Father are one. So it's true that when the Holy Spirit comes to us, Jesus comes to us.
Steve has also mentioned, I'm going to step on you, pal, but Steve has also mentioned the baptism of Christ in Matthew chapter 5, where Christ is baptized by John the Baptist. The voice of the Father speaks in heaven and says that he is well pleased, and the Spirit descends upon Christ as a dove.
Right.
There you have Father, Son, and Spirit all in the same place, not three manifestations of one. Jesus has disappeared and puts on a different face, and he comes back as the Spirit. So right there just proves the Holy Spirit can be grieved. The Holy Spirit is a person. Unrepentant sin, Ephesians 4:30, grieves the Holy Spirit. So go ahead, Steve, what do you have?
Yeah, and at the baptism of Jesus, Jesus didn't come down on Jesus.
Right.
You know, there's three there, and there's many places in the Bible where three is used, and people are saying, no, there's just two, and the Holy Spirit is really just the second or the first in a different form, and that the Father really generated the Son. But when you look at, this is closer to Catholic theology than Bible truth. The Bible is very clear that there are three and they are united in one. 1 John 5:7 says there are three, as you quoted, Bill, there are three that bear record in heaven. Three, not two, three. Right. The Father, the Word, and the Holy Spirit. And these three are one. And here in John 14, verse 16, Jesus said, I, referring to himself, the Son of God, I will pray to the Father, there's two so far, and he, the Father, shall give you another, this is a third, comforter, that he, so the comforter is a he in his own right, that he may abide with you forever, even the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive, because it neither sees him nor knows him, but you know him, for he dwells with you and shall be in you. I will not leave you comfortless. I will come to you. So people quote this part, I will come to you, and they say, see, the Holy Spirit is Jesus because he says, I'm coming to you. But there's another way to look at this. The other way is that the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit are so closely united that when the Holy Spirit comes, Jesus comes. When we see the Son, we see the Father. But it doesn't mean that there's not three separate individuals, just like Jesus said, baptized in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. And it's such a frustration for so many of us to see this controversy and to have people accuse us, if we believe in the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, for being like Rome and compromised with Rome. But the reality is they're closer to Rome than we are, because they're saying the Son is generated by the Father, and they're saying the Holy Spirit isn't really a third person. That's Catholic theology. And so we're in a battle between God and the devil, and it's intense, and it's going to continue to get intense.